So depending on who you listen to, Masters of the Universe is either this woke disaster made by people that either don't understand, they hate, or they're just too stupid enough to understand what He-Man and Masters of the Universe is all about, and they'll do everything in their power to try to destroy it. Or it's another Hollywood cynical cash grab to try to just milk another legacy IP for everything that it's worth. Or number three, this movie is 100 times better than what these people are actually telling you. So stick around and I'll tell you which one. Well, welcome back everybody, Rock Dog here, and we are here to talk about Masters of the Universe. It just came out now in June of 2026, and I am here to defend it more than I am to criticize it, because other people have done that and they've just totally butchered it, and I think they're all wrong, and I'm going to tell you why it is actually better than what they are saying it is. So first off and foremost, He-Man and Masters of the Universe is spot on, right on point to where it is. There's a few hiccups and glitches and things that probably shouldn't have been in there, but they're so minute that the rest of the movie outweighs it. So first off and foremost, director Travis Knight was the man for the job. He did a wonderful job with this movie. He was able to capture its essence. He actually was able to capture the lore behind it and a lot of things. And he had a tough job trying to educate people on something that happened 50 years ago. Because honestly, if you don't understand He-Man and the lore, don't understand 1980s culture, frankly, you're just not going to get this movie. And I think that's where a lot of these people, these critics out there, YouTube and the Metacritics and all that, got it wrong. Because right now, the fan base on IMDb is 7.0, and I'm going to say that that's mixed because you got multi-generations all grading this, and I don't think younger generations are really giving a fair grade that what it needs. However, the Metacritics, unbelievable how bad they are. And when you read some of their reviews, frankly, it leads to the fact that they just don't know what they're talking about. So I don't even know why they're critics if you're not going to grade it the right way. So anyways, Travis Knight, fantastic job with this, capturing everything from who the characters are, the story arcs, trying to tell the story to educate generations of people as to who He-Man was. And I think he did a fairly good job with it. He was able to actually capture 80s culture and attitudes at the time, and really what 80s movies were all about. Everything from the sarcasm to the humor to everything, because this movie is full of dad jokes and puns, and if that's not your thing, you're just not going to get it. And I don't think a lot of people did, because this movie is hysterical. It made me laugh. There's a lot of really good jokes, subtle little innuendos in there. Where there's some forced jokes, yeah, but F it, it's just what it is. So, it's nothing more than, a rom-com trying to force their love on you. So anyways, Masters of the Universe, Travis Knight was just fantastic. Perfect man for the job. He's of age, and reading all the material behind his research and him putting together the movie, I think he took his time. I think he really did the franchise justice, and he's just not going to get enough credit for what he deserves. So Mr. Knight, thank you very much for doing what you did for this movie. I think you were the right man for the job, and congratulations, you got my vote. Second, Daniel Pemberton and Brian May. Well, Daniel Pemberton, for the most part, was the composer for this movie, and he had the help of Brian May from Queen and the band The Darkness. They really kind of helped make this soundtrack what it is, and it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. Songs for the movie were all appropriate. Yeah, there's a lot of 80s and 90s songs in there, but you know what? That was the time, right? And that's just 80s stuff. This is what He-Man is, I don't think you can make a He-Man movie with modern day music. It just ain't gonna work. And so it was just props out to them. The soundtrack is phenomenal. Everything just flowed really nicely, and it didn't overpower scenes. It just helped elevate them to make them better. So with those two out of the way, now I'm just going to go into, I'm not going to give you a whole synopsis of the movie. I'm sure you've read it, or you've seen the movie, or you understand what the movie's about, right? So, or you should anyway. If you don't, well then, I'll drop the link to IMDb and you can read the synopsis or the Wikipedia fandom base. But anyways, this movie, I'm gonna talk about certain scenes because there's a lot of critics out there that either bashed them really bad, because I think most of it they just didn't understand. They didn't understand where this movie was coming from, and so I'm gonna kind of touch on some of those and a lot of things that, frankly, everyone just missed. I can't believe I'm probably going to be the first one. I'm sure somebody's out there going to talk about some of these things, but I can't find them. And if they're out there, then, please show me, because, yeah, anyway. So first off, Masters of the Universe, we'll start off in the beginning. It begins with an excellent opening sequence. Adam is basically telling the story, and you first believe that he's actually talking to you, kind of giving you a story of who he is, his upbringing, and it takes you up to the current moment in time. When in actuality, he's on a date and he's talking to this girl that he's just totally making her freak out. So it's hilarious, right? And you got to remember, Adam is a child. He's the prince, and when you're a 10-year-old prince, I don't know, I've never been a 10-year-old prince, but I can tell you what it's like to be a 10-year-old boy, and those fantasies, and I can just imagine any child that's in that position of knowing that, you're right now, you're just a boy, but you're gonna be, king one day, and you have great responsibility. You're gonna have great power. You're gonna be the person that's gonna lead your world, for the, until it's time to move on. And so I think there was a lot of pressure on a 10-year-old boy. And so, not that he rebelled, but he just kind of refused to grow up, because he's still a child. A 10-year-old boy wants to be a boy. And so they kind of left it at that. And Idris Elba plays Duncan, his man-at-arms. I think he did a fantastic job with this. He nailed the character. Because if you've seen the cartoons and you've seen the shows from before, you will know that Idris did his homework, and he really nailed the part. And I want to give him credit. I think he helped elevate this movie a lot more than probably what he anticipated in the beginning. But Idris Elba, thank you. He did a fantastic job with Duncan, and except the drunk part scene. I still don't understand that one, but at the same time, I kind of do. Anyways, so now Skeletor comes in and he's attacking the planet. Well, he's actually after the Sword of Power. And so that's what he's really after. He captures the king and the queen, and he's coming after the sorcerer, or after the Sword of Power, and the sorcerer's there to protect it. That's her job. And so to do that, she sends Adam away. Well, there's a line in there, there's a little scene in there where Queen Marlena says, send him far away, send him to my home. I know a lot of people that did not catch that, okay, because they just don't know the lore. And so the sorceress opens up the portal, sends young Adam out with the sword, and tells him to protect it. Well, he's a 10-year-old boy and he doesn't know how, and he loses the sword, and he ends up in Oklahoma, and he's on a mission to try to find it. So anyway, back to Queen Marlena. She's actually humanoid. She's human, not humanoid. She's human, and she's not from Eternia. So backstory, Queen Marlena was actually a national astronaut, and she was on the ship one day and ventured off into space and got lost or drifted away. I don't remember exactly all the things, but I do know that she went off into space, got lost, and that's when King Randor found her, protected her. They ended up falling in love, and then they ended up having Adam and his twin sister at the same time, which Sheena, which they're not. I can understand why they didn't put her in this, because there's probably some legal reasons behind it, from the studios and stuff like that. It's kind of like probably the same thing that they didn't mention Janet Jackson in the Michael movie. So, it's probably one of those things. So I'm not too upset with the fact that She-Ra was not mentioned, but at the same time, she probably didn't have a whole lot to contribute to the plot, at least right now anyway. So that is why Adam was sent to Earth, because a lot of people were criticizing it. If you read these comments, why Earth? Everything happens on Earth, blah, 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 whatever. Well, in the story, Queen Marlena is from Earth, so that's where her home is. And so that is why he went to Earth. So next are the Earth scenes. People are criticizing the Earth scenes because they're just like, that was unnecessary. Well, it actually kind of was. And, he spent 15 years, growing up, trying to understand who he is and what it is to be a man, didn't have parental figures, ends up working for this company and having to deal with woke America, basically. And I love the fact that Travis Knight just totally mocked it, humiliated it. I thought it was hilarious on many levels. And if you cannot catch the humor behind all of that, I don't know what to tell you. But that was just hilarious, the mockery behind it, and props out to him. So Nicholas Galitzine, I think, was a really good cast for this. Honestly, I never heard of him before this movie, but I think what I saw in the movie, he actually portrayed Adam very well. And of course, he even looks like He-Man when he's in costume. So I think that was a very good casting choice right there. Because you got to remember, Adam is still a child, basically. He doesn't want that responsibility. He doesn't know what it means. He knows it's coming. He doesn't know how to handle that. He doesn't know how to handle that responsibility. So it's a great coming of age story. And I think that we don't get a lot of those in modern day movies nowadays, or in the last 20 years. And if there are, they're not the way I remember growing up. So it's a great coming of age story where, he understands who he is as a child, tries to understand it even more, and learn what it means to have responsibility, what it means to grow up, and then what it means to actually do with that power once you have the power. So I thought it was a nice, good story arc for him. And I think Travis Knight really did his homework with that, and really kind of took care of Adam and He-Man the way he should have. So I thought it was a great casting choice. But anyways, the Earth scenes are just hilarious. The way they mock the corporate culture and how a lot of these HR companies are. I'm not going to bash them too much, but Masters of the Universe did it for me, and it's just hilarious. But once again, if you can't catch the humor behind all that, then I don't know what to tell you. You're missing it. You just missed it. And then so in this, they had to make Adam in a position to where he can find the sword. And so obviously you didn't want the sword ending up in government hands, because you'll never get it back. It's going to end up in some laboratory somewhere in some mountain, and Adam would have never found it. So where can you hide a sword in plain sight that is very easily for Adam to find it, or being led to find it? And there's no other better place than a comic book store. And so I thought that was all appropriate. And then right after that, once he touches the sword, once he actually gains possession of it again, that signals the triggers back to Skeletor's base and back to his home planet. And that's how they were able to track him down. Teela, who is the daughter of Duncan, Man-at-Arms, and she was training to be a Man-at-Arms as well. If you've seen the other cartoons and those stuff, she actually becomes Man-at-Arms. Camila Mendes, I think, actually did a very good job in this. There were some scenes of hers that I think were kind of like a little sketchy, but I think overall she was a very believable with her character. She was very believable as Tila, because Tila has a certain personality that I think Camilla actually embraced and really took care of. And so she's a strong woman. She's not domineering. She can be a little bit of a bitch sometimes, but I think that's just because she's very stern and to the point and focused. And I thought Camila Mendes did a very good job at that. And not only that, she's beautiful. So, you know, props out for another good casting call. I hope to see a lot more of her in the future. And I'll go check out some of her other work, because honestly, I didn't know who she was. But I thought she did very good in this movie. And so now she's the one that finds Adam, you know, and then they end up fighting off Beastman, and they end up leaving Earth, and she takes him home, and they reconnect from their childhood. And I thought that was a very good scene. So that was those were kind of like the key points in there. Oh, another key point I wanted to mention on an Earth scene that no one is talking about, and I really wish people did, because maybe people just didn't know who he was. But props out to Travis Knight for taking care of Dolph Lundgren, because for those of you that don't know, Dolph Lundgren played He-Man back in the 80s in his own standalone movie, and I thought it was like a great homage to him, and how they set that up in like a little gym setting where, you know, Adam's like, hey, you got some lessons, you know, for a newcomer, and this and that. I thought that was just very well appropriate. Dolph, thank you so much for stepping in and passing on the torch. But props out to you for that, and Travis for making that scene there. No one's talking about it, and I don't know why, but they just missed it, I guess. So anyways, you know, moving on. I'm not going to go too much further into all the other scenes. I mean, there are some scenes in there that are mostly of the humor. You know, as far as like, that was one of the criticisms from a lot of the critics, was that they seem forced, they seem unintended. But what I want to point out is that that's what the show is. That's what 80s comedy for the show was. And there's those little dad jokes, there's those little innuendos, you know, everything where one character says one thing and then it's filled in by another character, and it ends up being an innuendo that no one catches. You know, it happened with Tila and the computer. Yeah, of course, Ram Man, Fisto. I mean, those are all just made up names. You know, those aren't their real names in the show. But that's the way Adam remembers them. He remembers them by their physical traits. Fisto's got the golden. I mean, he's 10. You know, when you're a child, you're gonna make up names. You know, and that's how he remembers them. He didn't grow up with them afterwards and get to know them personally. He was a 10-year-old boy, and that's how he knew them. He's a man that rams. He's Ram Man. He's Fisto. It's all perfectly fun. And I thought that was hilarious. And of course, they're not going to know who he is, because last time they saw him, he was 10. So, you know, now he's a grown man. So I thought that was all very well laid out and set up. And I thought, you know, Travis Knight really took his time to really get them reconnected all back together. But where I really want to give props out to, because first off, I am not a Jared Leto fan, other than the music. I like 30 Seconds to Mars. I like the band. However, I have seen Jared Leto movies, and he has not done a very good job. When he's in like a main character role, for example, the Joker. Anyways, when he's been in those main character roles, when he's been in like other roles, like just a character actor, like when he was in Fight Club and things like that, he was just a character actor, and he just kind of blended in for those little scenes. But when he's had a main character role, I don't think he's really done well for it. However, I will tell you this: I think he was a perfect cast for Skeletor. I thought he embraced the humor, he embraced the attitude, he embraced everything that I think people want and expect from Skeletor. Whether he did his homework, he lived through it, he was a big fan himself, I don't know. All I know is on screen, I thoroughly enjoyed his performance. I don't know how much of it he ad-libbed or if those were all part of the script, but just his mannerisms, how he delivered the lines, I thought he was an excellent Skeletor because he just nailed it. He just nailed Skeletor for what he really was. And Travis Knight, thank you for keeping Skeletor looking the way Skeletor should look. All the rumors about everything from a golden mask and all this other crap, thank you for keeping Skeletor true to who Skeletor was. You know, and Jared Leto really kind of, I think, I'm not going to say redeemed himself, but he finally found a role that he could actually embrace and do well in. So props out to him. Another criticism that I found on the internet was towards the end there when Skeletor and He-Man were actually fighting with each other. I don't think people understood the comic book fight scene. And because towards the end there, when He-Man is punching Skeletor and kicking him, and it has the cartoon comics feel to it, because if you're not a fan of comics, you're not going to get that. And I thought those were well executed by Travis Knight, and phenomenal job. I thoroughly enjoyed that fight scene in the end. You know, but once again, the whole story is a coming of age. You know, he's trying to please his father. He's trying to grow up and understand who he is, trying to understand what the responsibility is. And what do you do when you get that power? And then, you know, he says farewell to his father when his father's dying. Spoiler alert. You know, and then it's just a very great transition for him. And overall, in the end, I think this movie deserves a far better rating than what it got. And I hope that you all feel a little bit different about it by me pointing out some perspectives on this. And you know, I mean, I'm not going to go through every scene as far as, like, you know, in the end, why you go ha 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 ha. If you didn't get that humor, I can't explain the humor. People just don't like the humor, and that's what I'm seeing on the internet. If you don't get the humor, if it doesn't make you chuckle and laugh and make you just, I can't help you, and I can't explain a joke to you, because if you didn't get it, you didn't get it. It's just not for you. And I hate to say that, but that's what it is. Some things are just not meant for everybody. But there's no reason to bash it for the people that do enjoy it, that do get it, that do love what this movie really is and means, and how well put together it was. And it's just unfair that the critics that supposedly have the power to have a say in it, well, they did. And I think it showed at the box office. You know, they spent $170 million to make this movie, and I don't think it even made $100 million opening weekend. However, I am hopeful. I am very hopeful that as time goes on, that when people rediscover this movie and watch it a second time or a third time, or look at it from a different lens, that they'll appreciate it more for what it is. DVD sales, CD sales, all of the aftermarket revenue for this movie, I think, will come its way. And rumor is that there's a sequel coming, which I really would like to see, where they go with that. And I'm looking forward to that. And I hope Travis Knight is part of it. And I hope they don't do this weird recasting. If you're going to do this, keep your same characters, keep your same leadership and directors as part of all this, because once you start mixing it up, you're going to have the Star Wars effect, and it's just not going to work. And then it'll really be trash. But if they're going to go on with the sequel, that's what they got to keep. That's the main thing, is they got to keep the characters. They got to keep the same director and the same leadership, because That's the only way a sequel is going to work, is if you can keep it with the same people. Do your first movie, do your second, and then maybe a third, whatever. I don't think it's necessary to go beyond 2 movies. You know, just make another series out of it or something. I don't know, but yeah, there's just a lot of things about this movie that I truly love and I appreciate. Others, I mean, I can go on and on about all the different characters as to how good they were, bad they were. You know, I can make fun of, you know, the Marvel montages, because it does feel Marvelish, you know, in some parts of it. You know, like the heroes are rocking out, you know, and they're Marvel, you know, let's go to fight, pirate, you know, that was just cheesy. But this movie is cheesy, and that's what made it funny. And it wasn't, I mean, maybe it was they were doing a mockery of Marvel. I'll have to watch it again to kind of catch that part. But it's just, that's what this movie is. And all I can leave you with is this: if you did not grow up watching this, or if you do not understand the lore, if you do not understand everything, and all you think about is that this is just a toy thing, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But this is far more than that. And it's one of those where you either get it or you don't. And if you don't get it, I hope one day that you do, because I think you're going to appreciate this movie a lot better when you do get it, because that's what this movie is. And for those of you that do get it, I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it as much as I did, because it's definitely going to be in my collection, and definitely going to be one of those that I share with my family and friends a lot more. And it's going to be part of my pop culture collection. So yeah, so that's all I have to say for this about now. I don't know if something else pops up, I may make another video, but anyways, I try not to take this too much of your time, but I do thank you for sticking around and listening to me rant, because that's kind of what this was. It's a rant and review. So I hope that, you know, you take to heart a lot of things that I did say, and if there's things that you disagree with me on, please let me know in the comment section below. Or if you do agree with me on a lot of things, then yeah, let me know too, because I want to make sure that I'm trying to appease everybody as best as possible. But I just had to make this video because a lot of people got it wrong, and I hope that one day that this movie will laugh at them just like the movie ended. So anyways, guys, have a great night, and thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.